Have you ever wondered what truly breaks a person with narcissistic traits? It's not the dramatic exit you make, not the arguments, and not even the loneliness that follows. The most profound silent collapse for a narcissist happens in the echo of your absence, in a moment of horrifying clarity when they are forced to confront a truth they have spent their entire lives avoiding. They didn't just lose a source of attention. They, with their own hands, dismantled and destroyed the only genuine, unconditional love they were ever offered. This isn't a moment of sadness. It is a moment of psychic annihilation. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung wrote extensively about the shadow, that part of our unconscious mind that contains everything we can't bear to see in ourselves, our fears, our insecurities, our repressed desires. For the narcissist, their entire existence is a desperate flight from this shadow. A vast, terrifying emptiness they paper over with a mask of superiority and control. But true love, your love, was like a light that pierced through the mask. It didn't judge, it didn't attack, it simply was, and its pure existence threatened to illuminate the void they so desperately tried to hide. In this journey today, we are not here to cast stones. We are here to understand. Through the powerful lens of Jungian psychology, we will decode the narcissist's final breaking point, the moment the grand illusion shatters. Not because you left, but because your peace, your happiness, and your silence become the undeniable proof of their self-inflicted tragedy. We will explore how their meticulously crafted world of control is in fact a prison of their own making, and how your act of letting go becomes the key that locks them inside with the one thing they fear most, themselves. What happens in the psyche of a narcissist when they realize the love they devalued was the only thing that could have made them whole? And more importantly, what profound lesson did Jung wish for us to learn from this, so that we can transform our own pain into unwavering strength and finally step out of their shadow for good? Stay with me, because by understanding their deepest wound, you will find the map to your own profound healing. This is not just about them. It is about reclaiming the narrative of your life and realizing that your freedom was never in their hands to give. It was always, and will always be, within you. The inner world of a narcissist is a meticulously constructed theater. On its stage, they are the writer, the director, and the star of a one-person show. You and everyone else are not co-stars. You are the audience, and your applause, your attention, your admiration, your emotional reactions is the only thing that proves the show is real. Carl Jung would call this elaborate stage the persona, the public mask we wear. For the narcissist, this mask isn't just a social convenience, it is their entire reality. Beneath it lies the shadow, an abyss of insecurity and a deep-seated belief in their own worthlessness. Their entire life becomes a frantic effort to keep the audience captivated, so they never have to look behind the curtain. Their illusion of control is not a sign of strength, but a symptom of this profound inner terror. They believe they are masterful puppeteers, pulling the strings of those around them. They use tools that feel like intimacy, but are, in fact, instruments of management. The intoxicating rush of love bombing, the disorienting chill of sudden withdrawal, the calculated compliment that lifts you up just to subtly put you down. Each of these is a tactic designed to keep your eyes glued to the stage, to make you dependent on their next move. In a healthy relationship, two people grow together. In the narcissist theater, you are conditioned to believe your happiness depends on their performance. They mistake your dependence for love, your confusion for devotion. Jung wisely stated, "Whatever is not made conscious will return as fate." The narcissist's unconscious fear of being worthless becomes their fate. They are fated to endlessly seek validation from the outside because they have none on the inside. They are not controlling you. They are controlled by their own emptiness. And this is where the tragedy begins. When genuine love enters this theater, it doesn't seek a role in the play. It brings a quiet, steady light, the light of authenticity. It doesn't need grand gestures or dramatic scripts. It simply wants to connect with the real person behind the mask. This is terrifying for the narcissist. That gentle light threatens to expose the dusty, empty backstage area they've hidden. It threatens to show the audience that the magnificent star is just a frightened soul, afraid of the dark. If this exploration of the hidden theater of the mind is already shedding light on your own experience, I warmly invite you to join our community at Mind Decode Explained. Subscribe and become part of a journey where we navigate these complex inner worlds together, finding clarity and healing in shared understanding. Your presence here is a step toward reclaiming your own light. From the moment they enter your life, the narcissist becomes a student of you. They are not studying you to love you better. They are studying you to become what you love. They mirror your deepest hopes, your unfulfilled dreams, and your secret vulnerabilities with an almost supernatural precision. You feel an electrifying sense of being seen, of having finally found a soul who speaks your silent language. This, in Jungian terms, is a masterful manipulation of projection. They create a blank screen and encourage you to project your ideal partner onto them, and they then flawlessly act out that role. That overwhelming wave of affection and attention, known as love bombing, isn't a spontaneous overflow of emotion. It's the first act of their play, meticulously scripted. The grand promises, the constant praise, the feeling that you are the center of their universe. It's all designed to build the stage upon which the rest of the drama will unfold. You are made to feel so uniquely special that the idea of life without them becomes unimaginable. Jung would caution us that any experience of extreme idealization inevitably carries its shadow. True, grounded love builds with quiet consistency. It does not need to dazzle and overwhelm, for it has nothing to hide. The narcissist's love, however, is a performance of light, designed to distract you from the darkness it conceals. Behind the flood of affection, they are laying the groundwork for dependency. They are teaching your nervous system that their presence equals euphoria and their absence equals pain. Once this conditioning is complete, they can begin to use their silence, their withdrawal, and their subtle criticisms as tools of control. You find yourself constantly trying to get back to that perfect beginning, not realizing that the beginning was never real. It was an audition, and you were the judge who gave them the part. The painful truth is, they don't fall in love with you. They fall in love with the reflection of themselves they see in your adoring eyes. You are the perfect mirror, showing them the grandiose, flawless being they so desperately want to be. And as long as you reflect that image, you are cherished. But the moment a crack appears in the mirror, the moment you express a need, assert a boundary, or show a flicker of dissent, the reflection is no longer perfect, and the mirror is no longer valuable. This is when the mask begins to slip, and the light of love you offered starts to feel less like a comfort and more like an interrogation. Once you are securely within their orbit, the rules of the game subtly change. The constant sunlight of their affection gives way to an unpredictable climate of intermittent warmth and chilling frost. This is the stage of devaluation, and it is here that the narcissist's shadow truly comes out to play. They begin to erode your sense of self-worth with devastating precision. It starts with backhanded compliments. "That was a wonderful dinner. You almost cooked it as well as my ex." Or, "You look beautiful tonight. It's amazing what that dress does for you." These are not slips of the tongue. They are carefully placed seeds of doubt. They make you feel good and bad in the same breath, a confusing state that leaves you craving their unambiguous approval once more. Jung spoke of the ego as our sense of self, our I. The narcissist's goal is to slowly dissolve your ego so that you become an extension of theirs. They want you to stop trusting your own perceptions and rely solely on theirs for your sense of reality. This is where gaslighting becomes their most potent weapon. It is more than just lying. It is a systematic dismantling of your sanity. "I never said that." "You're being too sensitive." "You're imagining things." These phrases, repeated over time, make you question your own memory, your feelings, your very perception of truth. When you no longer trust yourself, you become completely dependent on them as the arbiter of reality. You are living in their world, by their rules, and you slowly forget who you were before you entered it. The silence, too, becomes a tool. A day of unanswered texts, a cold shoulder after a moment of intimacy, this emotional withdrawal is a punishment designed to make you frantic. You replay every conversation, analyze every action, wondering what you did wrong. The answer is nothing. The withdrawal is not a reaction to something you did, but a proactive measure to reinforce their control. It reminds you that they are the source of your emotional well-being, a source they can turn off at any moment. Jung believed that there is no coming to consciousness without pain. It is in the depths of this confusion and pain that the first glimmers of awakening can occur. The soul can only be stretched so far before it begins to recognize that love should not feel like a constant test, that connection should not require the sacrifice of one's own mind. The narcissist, in their quest for total control, unknowingly plants the seeds of their own undoing. Every wound they inflict is a lesson in disguise, slowly teaching you that your worth is not, and never was, up for their review. In the narcissist's lexicon, love and possession are synonyms. They do not love you as a separate whole individual. They see you as a prized possession, an extension of their own ego that reflects their good taste and status. Jung starkly contrasted these two forces. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. This is the central conflict in any relationship with a narcissist. You are seeking love, while they are seeking power. They believe your love is measured by your compliance, your willingness to sacrifice your needs, your friends, your passions for them. Your independence is not a source of pride for them. It is a threat. Every friend you have, every hobby that brings you joy, every moment of peace you find in solitude is a theft of the emotional energy they believe belongs exclusively to them. Their jealousy is not a sign of how much they care. It is a sign of how deeply they feel they own you. True intimacy requires vulnerability, the courage to be seen in one's imperfection. This is anathema to the narcissist. To be vulnerable is to admit the mask is not real, to reveal the terrified shadow self cowering behind it. So instead of fostering genuine intimacy, they create a facsimile of it through control. They want to know your every thought, not to understand you, but to anticipate and manage you. They demand absolute loyalty, not as a natural outcome of a loving bond, but as a prerequisite for their continued affection. This turns the relationship into a transaction. Their love is conditional, granted only as long as you fulfill your role as their primary source of validation, or what is often called narcissistic supply. The heartbreaking paradox is that in their desperate attempt to secure your love by possessing you, they inevitably destroy it. Love cannot breathe in a cage. It requires freedom, trust, and the celebration of two separate souls choosing to walk together. The tighter they grip, the more they suffocate the very thing they claim to want. This is a battle they are destined to lose. Sooner or later, the soul's innate yearning for freedom will outweigh its fear of being alone. And when you choose to reclaim your own sovereignty, when you realize you are not a possession but a person, the foundation of their world begins to crack. They lose not only their possession, but the one thing their power could never truly command: your authentic love. The narcissist's breaking point rarely arrives with a thunderous explosion. It is not born from a final screaming match. It happens in the deafening silence that follows when you, the survivor, finally stop reacting. For the entirety of the relationship, they have been the director, and you have been their most reliable actor. Your tears, your anger, your pleading, your desperate attempts to understand all of it, positive or negative, was fuel. It was proof that they were the center of your emotional universe, that they had the power to affect you profoundly. They were the cause, and you were the effect. This dynamic was the bedrock of their power. But the journey of healing changes the script. Through therapy, through self-reflection, through the support of others who understand, you begin to see the game for what it is. You learn to detach. You learn that your energy is a precious resource, and you stop pouring it into a bottomless void. You stop trying to make them understand. You stop explaining yourself, and you stop hoping they will change. You go silent. This silence is not a tactic of revenge. It is an act of profound self-preservation. But to the narcissist, it is an act of war. It is the ultimate invalidation. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your silence forces their darkness into their own consciousness." Without your reactions to distract them, they are left alone in their empty internal theater. The audience has walked out. The applause has stopped. There is nothing left but them and their own shadow. At first, they don't understand. They escalate their tactics. They might send a barrage of angry texts, then switch to desperate "I miss you" messages. They might try to provoke you through smear campaigns or show up with grand, hollow apologies. They are frantically pushing all the old buttons, but for the first time, nothing is working. Your indifference is a wall they cannot penetrate. It is more terrifying to them than your hatred. Hatred is still a powerful connection. It proves they still matter. Indifference signifies their complete and utter irrelevance. This is what Jung might call the withdrawal of projection. You have taken back the image of the savior, the villain, the soulmate you once projected onto them. You now see them for what they are, a deeply wounded individual trapped in a cycle of their own making. This is the moment their world collapses. The fortress of their ego, built on your reactions, crumbles into dust, and in the rubble, they are forced to glimpse the one thing they have been running from all along: the truth of their own emptiness. The greatest terror for a narcissist is not to be hated, but to be forgotten. Their entire persona is constructed to leave an indelible mark on the world, and most especially on the people they choose as partners. They need to be remembered, talked about, and reacted to, because reaction is proof of existence. Indifference, on the other hand, is erasure. It is a quiet statement that says, "You were a chapter, and that book is now closed." Jung taught that the ultimate journey for any individual is the confrontation with the self. Your silence and your moving on force the narcissist into the initial stages of this confrontation, a journey they are utterly unequipped to handle. When you are happy without them, it is the ultimate indictment of their worldview. Their entire narrative was predicated on the belief that they were the best thing that ever happened to you, that you would be lost without them. Seeing you thrive, truly, authentically happy, smashes that narrative to pieces. Your joy becomes a mirror reflecting their failure. It proves that not only were they not essential to your happiness, they were the primary obstacle to it. This triggers a profound narcissistic injury, a wound to their ego so deep that it can lead to a state of collapse. It's not just that they lost supply, it's that the very foundation of their superiority has been proven false. They are faced with the horrifying possibility that they are, in fact, ordinary. Replaceable, unimportant. This is the truth the shadow has held all along, and they can no longer outrun it. In this state of panic, they may scramble to find new supply, creating a whirlwind of drama to distract from the inner void. They may try to rewrite history, painting you as the villain to anyone who will listen. This is not about you. This is a desperate attempt to patch the gaping hole in their ego, to find a new audience for their play. But the echo of the truth remains. The ghost of the genuine love they had and destroyed begins to haunt them. They may never admit it, not even to themselves, but in their quietest, most unguarded moments, the realization dawns. They didn't lose an argument. They didn't lose a partner. They lost a rare, irreplaceable chance at real connection, a chance to be loved not for their mask, but for the person underneath. And they destroyed it because they were too afraid to believe they were worthy of it in the first place. That is their tragedy and their inescapable sentence. So, where does this leave you, the one who walked away? It leaves you with a quiet, unshakable power. You begin to understand that the greatest victory is not in proving them wrong, but in proving yourself right. Right to choose peace, right to honor your own reality, right to build a life of authentic joy. The final and most profound truth of this journey is this: you do not heal by getting them to see the truth. You heal by by realizing their perception of you was never the truth to begin with. You were never the too sensitive, crazy, or difficult person they painted you to be. You were a person with a deep capacity for love, who had the misfortune of offering it to someone who was incapable of receiving it. Your love was not a weakness. It was a testament to your humanity. The fact that they twisted it and devalued it is a reflection of their brokenness, not yours. Carl Jung's most enduring message is one of integration, of embracing our own shadows to become whole. Your experience with a narcissist has, in a painful way, forced you to confront your own shadows, perhaps a fear of being alone, a need for external validation, or weak boundaries. By walking through that fire and choosing to heal, you have done the work they never could. You have integrated the darkness and emerged into a more authentic, resilient, and self-aware light. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. You have chosen to become a person who recognizes their own worth, who can set firm boundaries, and who understands that real love is calm, consistent, and kind. You no longer seek applause from an audience of one. You have found the quiet, steady hum of self-love within. The narcissist may forever be trapped on their lonely stage, endlessly searching for a new audience to distract them from their own emptiness. But you are free. You have left the theater, and you have walked out into the real world, where the sun is warm, the air is clear, and your future is a beautiful, unwritten story. Your peace is the final word. Your happiness is the undeniable truth. And your light is the story that continues, brighter and stronger than ever before.